Hey, what's up people? It's DevOps Rob, and it's been a minute since I last made a video and connected with you all. So yeah, I think it's about time I come back to you all. A lot has happened since the last time we spoke. A lot has happened since the last time we spoke, and I think the biggest, well, arguably the biggest headline is I turned down an offer from Microsoft. And it's funny, when I've spoken to my family about this, the reaction has been quite predictable. It's like, you did what? You turned down an offer from Microsoft? And honestly, it's like there's a lot more layers to this thing. So yeah, I just want to just dig into that whole thing, that whole process, how it came about, and ultimately why I ended up turning down the offer. So essentially the first step was I was headhunted by their internal technical recruitment team. Apparently I have a set of skills which was interesting to them, and this is for a senior software engineer role in their Azure customer experience team. So that's pretty dope. I love working with Azure. I do quite a bit of work in my current role with Azure, so it's a good fit. So yeah, after finding out a bit more about the role and just kind of making my mind up as to whether it's something I was interested in interviewing, because it may be Microsoft, but the role still has to be enjoyable to me. So I decided to, I will, engage in the process, right? So we know that Microsoft typically has a bad reputation when it comes to recruitment process, which, they were quite upfront about that with me. They did say, look, they understand that they've got this reputation, and here's what we're going to do for your process to try and smooth it out. So essentially, the stages of the interview were condensed into 3 stages, which were further condensed into 2 stages, as in what we did is the second and third stage were back-to-back interviews on the same day. So literally we blocked out, I think it was like 2.5 hours or something like that to do that. So, fantastic team. The first stage, I'm not going to name names because I just don't think it's appropriate, but the first stage was the technical interview, which was really good fun, actually. I really enjoyed that. Essentially what they do is a few days before the interview, they give you a case study, and it's for you to try and extract what the problems are, just extract where the real business value is, and come up with a solution to try and fix that, right? So when you get to the technical interview, you discuss your solution, and you can build it and all those types of things there. And it's essentially a good way of doing a conversation starter to understand how a candidate thinks, why they do certain things, their understanding of the problems, other values they've been able to extract, and it's the type of exercise where it's not really about passing or failing. I think it's about understanding kind of your technical knowledge, understanding the way you interpret information, and whether it's a good fit for the kind of gap in skills that they have in this team. Are you essentially going to be an asset to them, right? So you can be talented, but maybe the skills you possess are not what they're lacking in the team. So yeah, anyway, I love that. It was really good fun. I love kind of looking at problems and finding solutions, especially where security is concerned. So that was the first stage, and then I did the second stage and the third stage on the same day. And I need to remember this. The first one was a competency, or the second stage was a competency-based interview. So I think that was more looking at soft skills and some of the core competencies that are required for the role. So my ability to communicate effectively, my ability to listen properly, my ability to show empathy, all of these small soft skills that no one ever talks about, but they make such a huge difference to how effective you can be in a role, and just generally how people kind of respond to your ideas and interact with you. I don't think it's spoken about enough. So yeah, they do test that throughout the interview process. So yeah, needless to say, I make YouTube videos about these types of things. So needless to say that I possess the soft skills. I'm pretty confident in that, and they could see it. And then we went to the final stage, which was their what do we call it? I think it's the cultural interview, I think they called it, which essentially it's testing you against their core principles, right? So at HashiCorp we have a set of core principles, and when we hire, when we even make decisions internally, we always make these decisions with these principles in mind. Microsoft is no different, right? So essentially they were trying to get from me some stories, experiences that I've had that kind of exhibit some of these core principles. So that was the 3 stages. I have to say, they were really, really good with communication. Really, really good. I was always kept in the loop. I had direct access to the hiring manager. Things should normally go through the recruitment team, but the hiring manager would email me directly, and we would converse, and we'd set up our own meetings. That was pretty good. And the other thing that I want to point out about Microsoft is they every step of the way stressed that this process is a 2-way process, which is something I advocate for a lot. I'm not there to be interviewed by Microsoft only, I'm also there to interview Microsoft. And they always make the point to say, look, it has to be a good 2-way fit. You need to understand us as an organization, us as a culture, and see if it fits into the way that I want to work, and the culture and the environment that I want. So how you go about doing that, they offer you the chance to ask questions, and they give you very honest answers. They painted, I'd say, a very honest picture. They didn't just give me all the good, they gave me some of the things that they thought were areas for improvement. Ultimately I thought that was really, really good. There was a lot of emphasis on that. I spoke to the hiring manager after the final stage, and it was mutual. At that point, it looked like I was going to be leaving HashiCorp and joining Microsoft. But then, this is the other big headline that happened, is throughout this process, so the whole thing probably took about 2 weeks, right? And in that 2 weeks, HashiCorp announced their IPO, right? And that's big news, huge news for me. And it was a game changer, right? I've been at HashiCorp since May 2020. As part of my onboarding, I was given a lot of shares in the company, which at the time are worth nothing really, because they're just restricted stock units. But by HashiCorp IPOing it made this thing that was nothing into something tangible, right? So essentially, at the time, I think my shares were worth in excess of $500,000 US, right? That's a lot of money to leave on the table. And in fact, I was kind of a year and a half into a 4-year vesting cycle. So for me to leave HashiCorp now means I leave a lot of money on the table. But that doesn't mean that the Microsoft offer is off at that point. So I kind of say to them, I was like, look, there's been a change in circumstances, and essentially for me to leave HashiCorp, the package needs to be worth my while, right? It has to kind of take into account what I'm leaving on the table and compensate me for that, right? Which is the biggest complication. So they went away, they kind of came back to me and said, look, we're going to try and put a package together for you, but we want to manage your expectations, because we know kind of what you're walking away from. We also know that you're quite happy in your role as well. If I'm happy to kind of just at least listen to them, then they'll prepare the offer. So obviously I was. So they went away, they put together an offer, and they came back to me and they presented it. We had a call, and they went through all the details and everything like that. I made a lot of notes, and the decision was quite easy for me to make financially, just because it's a lot of money I'm leaving on the table. It's a big ask for an organization to do something that's going to compensate me for that, right? And in the back of my mind, I kind of knew it was a big ask, but you never know until you ask the question and you kind of find out just how far a company is willing and able to go. I think in terms of willingness, there was a willingness there to try and do what they can, but there are rules in place within the organization, and they have to work within that framework. So ultimately I had to turn it down, but the door's still open. I still speak to the hiring manager from time to time. I see him liking my Instagram posts, and he's definitely keeping an eye on some of the things I'm doing, and I'm keeping an eye on some of the advances that team is doing, especially with the work around Azure. So it wasn't meant to be, but I'm really happy in my job. I love my team. I love the mission that I'm on, and the fact that the role I'm in gives me the ability to really take that mission to the next level and engage people, and try and advance our industry. And obviously the money that I've earned through this IPO is great. I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to talk about with the IPO, so I just kind of leave it at what's in the public eye. IPO is there. I made a lot of money from it pre-tax. And yeah, I'm just excited to kick off this year 2022, just continuing this mission. And what's funny, a detail I'll leave you with and a cliffhanger is, whilst all this was going on, I also interviewed with Apple and I turned them down as well. But maybe I'll make another video about that. But that's it from me. I just wanted to share that experience. I've had a lot of people that I've spoken to and told that were shocked that I turned it down. But yeah, it just wasn't, it was a great two-way fit from a cultural point of view, from a technical point of view, from a competency point of view. But from a financial point of view, it just wasn't a good fit. So, we all have to do what's right for us. Microsoft did what's right for them by making their best offer. Yeah, that's it really. But yeah, I wish you peace and blessings, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.